Welcome to Soul Circle, Conscious Love and Relationships. What's up, babes? What's up, Katie? What's up, Annabelle? Sarah Monaco, Chili Billy. What's up, babes? And we're good on YouTube also. How's everybody feeling? It's like a wonderful roller coaster. You know, roller coasters kind of make you nervous, but then they also feel like a kind of good sometimes. And then it's like you have all this excitement and then it like relaxes and then it goes more excitement and then it like relaxes. What's up, Wildflower Ari? Give some hearts, guys, if you can see me / hear me. And what are we diving into? I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear how everybody's doing right now. I want to hear the top things that are coming up for you, first and foremost. Totally going to do some cards. Yay with those hearts. Love it, love it. Are we holding the line? Give some hearts if we're holding the line. Are we holding down the like love game? Just keeping things real, keeping things in flow, searching for deeper truths, making sure that we get to the core truths. That's what I've been about all the last couple of weeks. I'm like all this week. Studying so much, learning so much. I hope you guys are good too. Yes, hearts. Stepping into power and confidence. Okay, Merritt C. Garner. How are you doing that? How is that showing up for you? Been manifesting and feeling good. Awesome. What's up, Megan? Cool. There's still a lot of things. That's really, really good. We got to make sure that we keep our foot focused on what we're standing for. I'll share a lot what's been coming up this week for me, just what I've been focusing on a lot more as far as like the collective and kind of what's been coming up and everything. Because there's so many narratives, right? And I'm hearing just this from this person and this from this person. And there's so many different things. I'm wanting to be able to like get to like the truth, the core essence of things, right? And so one of the, there's a lot of uncertainty too. It's like, well, what to post? And then making sure that like, you don't do it wrong, right? And all that stuff. And so I might say some stuff that I'm not going to be perfect on. I'm just going to share what I've been doing. So feel free if anybody's like, hey, bring some awareness to this, Sarah, like feel free to share that as long as it's with love and no shaming. We don't play that game over here. And what I've really been focusing on is getting to the core of history, right? And I'm going to tie this in on like how this relates to us and our relationship with ourselves first and foremost. Because it goes to our history and whether this is our ancestor history or whether this is like our story during this lifetime and what's been coming up, like what our, sort of journey has been and what our history has been. And whenever we have something that comes up, whatever we have, right, whatever inner work that we're doing on ourselves, right? The goal is what? The goal is to get to the truth. The goal is to get to the core. The goal is to go to the source. Go to the original source. And from that point, then you can build into more of the future that you want to create, right? Not always knowing the perfect way that's going to look, but setting some positive things in place, practices, tools, right? That then will build the life that you want. And that relates to all of our relationships. And with everything that's been going on and everything that I support so much, maybe not the anger and the shaming and all of that stuff, but right, like everybody wants to, like everybody's being expressive and that we have to honor too. And one of my intentions was, okay, let's go, like I wanted to go to history. I wanted to go to the core of history. And if you guys have been watching my stories today, I'm going to be starting, like I'm just searching for more history, like original history, ancestral core history. Like when did all of this storyline get shifted into something that's just it's not love, it's not healthy relating, right? And so if we can put that on how we're relating to ourselves, how we treat ourselves, how we're treating each other, and going back to the core and searching for the truth when sometimes we tell ourselves stories, right? We tell ourselves lies to fit a story, to fit a narrative that that we want, right? We can just all be super real on that. There's ways to transform and heal in a healthy way, right? And so in researching a lot more history, going to the core of history and realizing where history has been shifted to not really tell the truth, right? Good. We got hearts on that. Cool. You guys know what I'm talking about? Because we've like passed over the sort of core essences of giving credit, giving acknowledgement, giving honor and respect to certain things that have happened in history relating to like who's Christopher Columbus. Like, just go watch my stories, okay? Like, if we can get back to, I've been doing a lot, just go search whitewashing history, the hashtag whitewashing history, okay? And I'm just wanting to bring awareness to this because this is stuff I'm researching, stuff that just beats super real. Like when I was in junior high, I was so bad at history. I hated American history. The more that we were focusing on American history, I was like, I am bored. Like my soul was like, there's something, I'm not down with like American history. No offense if some of you guys are. Some of you guys are like, oh my God, love American, all right? And yet we've been told a lie. Our history is not the exact history. And if we can shift that perspective and understand that certain ways that we've been educated are not true. They're not true. They've been changed, just like sometimes we do with ourselves to fit a narrative that we want. And so why all this happened, I don't know. But the more that if we can go back and be like, okay, well, in original history, it was really like this. And if we can bring more attention and honor and respect to that and give more attention and honor and respect to bringing that information out so that we can say, wait a second, okay, this has been wrong, right? Not playing the right, wrong game, but in essence, not making it bad and wrong, right? Not judging it, not shaming it. And yet just bringing awareness to, okay, this hasn't been true. So if we practice being truth seekers, right? God, goddess stuff. Oh, don't get me started on the God, goddess stuff. Okay. Because don't get me started on that today. Let's keep it focused. Okay. That'll be a totally different day, God, goddess stuff. And I'm going to acknowledge for myself that, and see if this resonates for you guys. Because I almost want to collectively be like, you know what? We're not educated. And follow me on that just for a second. Like, if we have been learning something that's not the full truth in our history books, then what if we're all not really fully educated in it because it hasn't been the full truth? Maybe some things, right? So don't throw it all out because like that's what we have to go back and rewrite whatever is the authentic truth, because that's authenticity. So if we are truth seekers and we value authenticity for ourselves, value authenticity for our relationships, and if that's what we say that we want, then we have to be willing to look at stuff and be like, that's not fully authentic. Some of that is a lie, and that's not right. And so if we can go back and be like, oh, okay, the Lone Ranger was really a person of color. And then we shifted that storyline. Jesus, the Egyptians, right? Like all of these things. So, and there's even, you can go back, you can search for it. And some of these things you have to really search for, which is unfortunate. And that's why I want to start bringing them out more. And so I invite you to feel into whether that's something you would like to do, but that's going to the authentic core. That's going back to the original source and being like, all right, we need to rewrite history because our history books, And so I'm going to take it upon myself and be like, I'm not educated in that. And I'm going to blame the fact that I was never really into American history. Full transparency, I like totally cheated on the test because I was like, I just didn't care. Like, I was just like, this isn't, I don't care. That's just being super real. So I cheated on history tests. And when it came to Egyptian history, oh my God, I absorbed everything in that though. The minute we hit Egyptian history, I memorized hieroglyphs within like a week. I could do everything. I was supposed to be doing my homework, and I would sit and I would watch videos on Egyptian history, and I just wanted to absorb all of it. So I can honestly say that maybe because I wasn't really jamming with like the rest of American history. Maybe that's why I'm just like, okay, now I need to learn the original, go back and learn the original. So I'm not saying that, I'm perfect in it by any means. I'm just saying there's some stuff we got to unlearn, just like our own inner programs, our own, right, conscious and subconscious programming that we have, just like we have to unlearn all of those things. There's some stuff in history that we need to really unlearn if that's what we learned. So if you were down with history and you like geeked out on it, let's go back and search for what the original and get clear on like who the ancestors really were, what's been sort of passed over and like whitewashed, and start rewriting that. Because in order to create the future that we want, that then shares love for each other and honor and respect, then we got to be able to go back and look and say, okay, this isn't, there's a mismatch. This isn't full truth over here. So we got to bring truth and transparency to where there's an untruth, right? And it's interesting because sometimes when I start talking about this stuff, it's like I've been watching everybody like lose followers because we're talking about this stuff. And it's like, seriously? But this is history. This is like, we've been told an untruth. And if that doesn't sit weird with you, right? Like we gotta, like, does that sit weird? Like if somebody's kind of been lying, like it's not full truth, right? Just like in any relationship, it's like, do you want the full truth? Do we want to be authentic and fully transparent and truthful with each other? Then like, let's go back and find what are the full truths so that we can rewrite those. Like, I think our history book should be rewritten. Can we get some funding on that? Can we like, for all the kids going back to school so that we can be teaching like the truths of what really happened, right? And I don't know everything. I've been researching all of this stuff, and it's fascinating even to me. I'm like, wow, really? Wow, that like really? So it's so bizarre. I'm literally just like, oh gosh, are we serious right now? And like, why? Why? And I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't know why. But I can say that I'm committed to creating a better future. I'm committed to like learning what the truths are so that like I can know better, so that we can all do better. That's just, and we're totally going to mess up. We're not going to know everything. We're going to be figuring it out as we go. But I invite you to just look up like true history. Because that's what we've all been saying that we want. So if we're going to do it in one area, we got to do it in all areas. Give me some hearts if that's resonating for you guys. And let me scroll back up and see what we got as far as comments, because I know you guys have been. Okay. That's a quality. Okay. Maybe exploring industrial phases. Okay. I don't know. What do you mean by industrial phases? Not many are ready for that conversation, but I'm glad we're having it. Okay, awesome. And that's what, like, you know, I want to make this like Soul Circle. Like, we've been such a tribe for so many years. And even if you're relatively new, if you've been following and been a part of Soul Circle for so many, like, this is an open, loving space. This is non-judgmental space. This is no shaming space. This is like, let's bring the conversation open, knowing that like, we don't know. There's some things that we don't know, but if we're up to and committed to like rewriting history for the better, and if we can all just hold the line of love and just, it's totally uncomfortable, but let's stay in it. Like, let's stay focused with that so that then we can all have the better future that we want, right? Whatever that looks like. Well, I'm just saying, I don't have all the solutions. Like, what would be some of your guys' solutions? Like, I'm like, hey, can we rewrite the history books? Can we get funding for that? Like, that's one tiny little area. Is that going to solve all of the things? No. But just coming up with those ideas on like, well, what would we really want to shift and get back to like truth and authenticity? And what does that look like? And coming from honor and respect, knowing that, right, in anything that we try to do, we're always going to trip and we're going to fall. And if we can just keep going with it and hold the line with the highest intention and doing our best without getting down on ourselves, without getting down on anybody else, right? There's all this policing going on, and it's just like, we got to just hold space for like but we're all just trying to figure out, okay, cool, how do we shift this stuff now? Right? And just be better with each other. Just be better with each other. Maybe that's my like tons of Libra of like, it's all love and relationships. And yet there's a lot of frustration. So honor whatever emotion is coming up too. And just know that we're all processing in different ways. And if we can go back to the source and educate ourselves on what the truth is, what is the truth? Ask for truth to be shown. Ask your friends about how do we find the deeper, the core truth? Because if that's what we want for ourselves, right? When we need to shift a program, a protection program within, we go to the core, right? You always go, whenever I'm doing like hypnosis, you go to the core, you go to the first moment that then started causing all of these ripples out. And I'm not saying we're all going to find it with this particular situation collectively, but if we can say, okay, we know this area in history, and can we rewrite that? Can we bring awareness to that and then do better? Yes, our history is all BS. And some of our news right now is BS. So it's like all these storylines that keep coming out that it's like, what is truth? And so if nothing else, we got to know in our hearts what is true. And being open to unlearn some stuff. A lot of stuff, maybe. I loved ancient global history. Greeks, well, some of the Greeks, from what I've been learning, again, I don't know everything, so you guys do your own. There was one that I posted that was about know thyself. Socrates did not say that. The Greeks studied underneath the Egyptians. They got their information from the Egyptians. And who the Egyptians got it from, I don't know, right? But I'm still finding my way back to original. So some of the Greeks, that's all been like, so we got to go back further. But yes, they were all gods and goddesses. I see you on that, right? But check out Egyptian, because that was African culture. I mean, the Egyptians are African. They were bringing in so much information that shifted our consciousness, and that got suppressed. Definitely glad we're having this conversation. Okay, cool. So important to have discernment with what we've been taught. Absolutely. And honestly, like, we got to have compassion at the same time, because we all haven't known better. Literally everybody, we all haven't known better, but bringing the awareness to it now is like, okay, so now what can we do? If we didn't know better before, now what can we do? How do we hold the line and have that conversation and figure out the core information, right? I don't know everything. Like I said, I'm just researching the best I can, but what felt really good, because right now there's so many different conversations, and I'm just like, let me go research history. Let me go research and find out, like let's share where the truth came from. That's what felt good for me too, and fully in support of this movement. And yet I'm hearing all of these things like back and forth, and that can get really confusing. So I am about supporting it and supporting the truth, the voices of who really did what. Like, let's go find out that, and then amplify those voices. And doctrine versus educated. Exactly. And that's why I'm willing to say, I'm like, okay, what if we're all probably not so educated? Like, if we've been learning pretty much not a full truth, because I don't know how much of it is a lie and well, I know what of it is a lie, and I don't know how much of it is then truth, but we can all just be like, okay, we're all uneducated, because whatever we learned in the history books may not fully be the truth. And now we got Google. Hopefully, the majority of that is accurate, and who knows, right? Yes. And these are like the next generation of children. Like if we can shift that, so then they'll learn the truth or learn to be different than and right certain mistakes that we've made in the past. That's what that's what I think would be supportive, right? Okay. Yes, the whitewashing consequences of the United Daughters of the Confederacy. Okay, I'll have to look that one up. Will you send me, guys, feel free, like if you're finding stuff, like send it to me, because I want to be posting it on stories. I invite you to be posting it as well. But if there's something else, because I don't know what that is, love, feel free to send that to me, please. In utero. Mm-hmm. And guys, I tested out at like 10th grade. I think I was 16 or I was 15 and a half or something like that. Right. So I feel like I'm getting an opportunity to learn things, to really choose what I want to learn. But this is all stuff they didn't teach in school. So if we can just be like, okay, let's just all act like we are learning something new now for the first time. And again, knowing that we're going to stumble and fall on that, because when you're learning something new, it's like you might totally mess up. We got to get back to the end of cabal and get our government back. Okay, that's an interesting perspective. I don't know. Feel free to DM me about that. A lot of lies. Much more than just history. But that's a whole other convo. And that's what I mean, is if we can do our best to, one, check in with your heart, because that's your discernment. Check in with your heart and your soul and your discernment, and be like, if something doesn't feel right with the news that you're watching, if something doesn't feel right with what somebody is telling you, if something doesn't feel right for you, right? Keeping in mind, because here's the thing, is with certain indoctrination, then certain things could feel right? Some people who are still operating from a racist perspective, it might feel right for them. So we have to just, all of us that are wanting to reach those higher levels of love and consciousness, we have to be like, okay, what are we unlearning for ourselves? And then how can we maintain that voice to unlearn, to help support other people that are unlearning as well? Not everybody's going to be on that game. I feel like all the sirens are like, yes. And we can't control what everybody else is going to do. But you have 100% power in what you're going to do. It's worth it for the future generations, because that's all we got. That's literally all we have, is the future generations. I don't know who Sierra is. California curriculum doesn't teach Western part of history. Interesting. What do you mean? It doesn't teach Western part of history? What do you mean, love? Can you specify on that, please? These conversations make me feel a little less alone in it all. Okay, love that. Good. Then let's keep it going. So, and if you guys have questions, then, like, let's just open it up, knowing that, right, this is that safe space for non-judgment, and just saying like, hey, how can we bring more awareness and information around it? Because there's so many narratives right now. Oh my God. I'm still waiting on the aliens. I'm still waiting on the simulated alien invasion. I'm waiting for it. And that might bring in a whole nother culture. Who knows? So we have to remember, with as much intensity, bring a little bit of laughter. Okay. Again, holding space from a love perspective, right? And I know some people might, right? Anybody who's going to look for something to say might be like, well, that's just like bypassing whatever. It's like, no, let's all like, everybody's, you got to know your intentions, and everybody's going to find something. But if we're not coming from love, then where are we coming from? Our emotions were, yes, hearts on that. Our emotions were not touched as deeply. We unconsciously created out of fear. Interesting. Serious academic research and university research money. Yes. Like, where is all that? Can we put some of the funding, like, is anybody doing that? Does anybody, right? I'm just posing the question, and I'm definitely going to go and search for that myself. But it's like, where and is that something that's happening? You know, to like, like I've jokingly said, like when it comes to our own past stories, you know, like our unhealthy stories or unhealthy patterns that we've created for ourselves in this life and how we're relating to ourselves and each other. I've often joked in the past is like, burn the book. Like we're ready to like rewrite our whole love story. We have to rewrite the story now. We have to look at the untruths within ourselves. Look at the untruths of like how we've been treating ourselves, and then look at the untruths on history. So this is our personal history on how we've been treating ourselves to rewrite that, and the cultural history and the collective history. Dare we go to the universal history? Right? Like, was Atlantis having this same question? I don't know. That whole thing got wiped out. I was researching history and I stumbled upon Atlantis. So, but yeah, like who do we know? So if you guys ever, so I'm going to pose the question. I'm going to ask if you guys want to be supportive in searching for, is there anybody who's putting money and research into rewriting history in any way? Or how can we better do that? How can we expand that conversation? And does that feel good to you? Does that feel valuable to you? Does that feel correct? Does your, you know, inner guidance system be like, yes, that feels good and correct? More communication between educators and parents. Good. Keeping that pineal gland wide open. Talk about Egyptian. Hello. Right? That's the eye of Ra right there. Ways to communicate. Okay. Even, okay, cool. Thoth. Because just being fully transparent, I was having a conversation with my brother. I think I mentioned this once before, but I was having a conversation with my brother about this, and we were, it was know thyself. So it was exactly what I had to go and look it up again because I almost corrected him, right? He was saying, oh, know thyself. And the minute he said it and he said, oh, know thyself, the African, did he say proper African like statement, right? And for a half a second, I was like, doesn't he mean Socrates? And then I'm like, oh, no, no. And I am fully in that moment. I was like, brother, I have to tell you, like, I was a half a second because that was my conditioning. That was my like, oh, but haven't we learned that Socrates said this? So this is all of our conditioning. So we have to unlearn it. But I was fully transparent. I was like, I almost called it out and was like, almost said, wait, don't you mean? And then I realized, And then he's like, no, sister, like, let's go look it up. That was Egyptian and African. And so I looked it up. So that's what I mean by all of these things that was even just in that moment, condition, like almost a conditioned response. And I had to check myself on it, right? So just being really transparent with that. And that's what we all need to be able to do in this moment of just right before we're about to take action on something, just check yourself and be like, hang on. Are we sure? What's the truth? What's the truth? So the more that we can be seekers of truth with the intention of honor, love, and respect, and if we can come from that, that might do something. But I'm just suggesting. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm also still figuring it out. But I know how we say that we want to be able to relate to ourselves better. And when we're relating to ourselves better, then that's going to shift how we're relating with each other on multiple different levels. So racism, just all of the different levels, right? Maybe you believe the Egyptians were a different species of human. But I know they were human. I know they were darker. I know they were darker melanated. We know that. Were they hanging out with some aliens? Maybe. But we know that they were getting some really powerful wisdom, and they taught that wisdom. They taught that wisdom to Jesus, right? I'm not going all religious on you, okay? Because that's a whole other. And they taught it to the Greeks. They taught what they knew. And that's just the Egyptians. So it goes before that too, okay? So I'm not discounting the before the Egyptians. I'm just saying. Okay. I haven't been to Egypt yet. Not in this life. Not in this life. I've probably watched every video, everything. I was such a nerd in junior high. I was like supposed to be doing my math homework, and I was like, whatever. Let's like absorb all this Egyptian stuff. Stay curious. Yes. Thank you, Natasha. Okay. Okay. Google and Gaia. Okay. What is this? Anyone else try Quant web browser? It seems more transparent than Google from your own personal use. Ashley, you want to share a little bit more on that? Because I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm down to look that up. Patience is to teach is definitely a virtue. Okay. Where are we? UFOs, yes. I'm spending so much more time going through each one of your guys' comments because now whenever, right, it doesn't share in stories anymore and it shares on IGTV and then all the comments go away. So I want to make sure that I'm going through as many that I can actually see what you guys are saying. The story of Sarah going back to school. We're all in school all the time. Let's just get real on that one. And we are getting schooled on so many different levels right now. So I love learning and I love learning truth. And I don't like feeling manipulated or being lied to. That's what I don't like. And that's why for me, like a big value is like, okay, just what's the truth? Let's go find the truth. So then from there, they always said, and I forget who said this, somebody, if you know it, please feel free to share. But it was like, if you want to keep people enslaved, talk about enslaved, don't educate them. Don't educate them. And so to a certain extent, that's why I'm like, we have all, right, been not educated properly from the truth. So we're all in school, whether we're learning about ourselves or learning about how to relate or learning about love or learning about the truth of history. But like education and knowingness, that's where we're going to be able to choose really powerfully for ourselves. If we're just blindly absorbing what somebody is telling us because that's programming, if we're just watching the news, we all know that some of the news is planned. It's staged. We all know that. Does everybody here know that by now? Right? I'm not saying all of it, but I'm saying definitely some of it. And some great things comes out of that. And some things feel like they're coursing the narrative to what their desire is, just like maybe history has been coursed to what the desire is. And yet we got to get to the truth so that then we can feel like we're making proper, educated decisions from a rational perspective, from a full understanding, not just a reactionary perspective as well. Yes, yes, cool. Yes, programming controlling our world since day one. When we ask for truth, we can find it because the universe is who we are. Exactly. So ask for the truth. Ask, get ready for it to show up. Always. You can do that with your relationships too. Always ask. Every single time I've connected to like highest source, gotten so centered in my body, I'm like, okay, fully embodying the highest essence of source. Is this relationship in fullest alignment? And if it is not, allow it to move away. Just sometimes ends up moving away. You're like, oh, okay, there were some things I didn't see. There were some things I didn't know because maybe some things were hidden or didn't want to be fully transparent. And so when you can ask for that, it will be shown. So I've been asking for truth. And so some of my intuition, right? I asking one of my soul brothers and I was like, where do I need to look? What do I need to look up? Right? I mentioned this was a couple weeks ago. Look up melanin. Look up whitewash. Well, whitewashing was the one I found. Look up ancient history. Look at textbook publishers and buyers and authors. Okay, that's a great point. What do you mean to look at textbook publishers? Like to see what their value system is? But they may not know, right? So certain people are publishing, like, we got to go back to like who's publishing this stuff? Who wrote it? And either way, honestly, we don't care who wrote it anymore. Let's find the truth and let's bring in more of the truth, right? If there's some things in current history that were true, awesome, cool. Those are great. Yay. But we've left some things out, right? There were stories left out of the Bible, specifically honoring women. Maybe we should bring those back too. Specifically women of color, definitely during that time. Let's just call out the truth. Come on. With full respect and honor of everybody, right? And without getting mad at each other, okay? Without getting mad at each other. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Mary Magdalene, she wasn't black. Yes, she might have been black. Yes, she might have been. 100%. 100%. Let's go look it up and find out. Let's go look it up and find out. And if she was, then let's call that out. And let's bring honor and respect to that. Because as all women, that's just respect. That's just honoring queens. That's just honoring queens. And when we want to embrace the queen within us, we have to honor and respect the queen in another. 100%. No matter what color. 100%. See the color. Honor the queen. No matter what. That's what I say. See the color. Honor the queen. And the king. Right? As archetypes, right? We're not leaving out the boys. We're not leaving out the men. Okay. I love you guys. And I love that I just want to honor all of you guys as well. Okay. Because as much as you're grateful for having this conversation, I love that you guys are showing up and showing who you are and being open to having the conversation, being open to unlearning, being open to looking for truth, being open for shifting whatever needs to shift, because I believe that we all have a value and a goal to be moving our consciousness and our collective forward. And that means with everybody. Like, don't leave a brother or a sister left behind. So this is all coming up right now, and it's super, super intense. Not any more intense than a personal awakening that we've all been through. Okay, let me check on that. Because for some, we're never going to fully know the intensity. And I want to honor that. Okay, so I want to just remember that even the things that I say, I want to remember and honor that each perspective is totally different. We are never, some of us are never going to fully know and never going to fully understand. And I want to just be able to bring honor and awareness to that. And at the same time, as long as we can all say, okay, we're in it, we're doing our best to move forward, we're holding the line and trying to figure out solutions for the better, to be better, to do better, all across the board. Because that's what we're all saying that we've wanted, for the change that we've all been wanting, and for the change within ourselves, and for the change in all of our relationships. That's what we've been saying. And it's here. Yes, not running from it, not avoiding your own inner triggers. Exactly. So if people are getting triggered right now, awesome. Because where the trigger is means that's where the breakthrough is. That's where we can put more love into. So as long as we're like, okay, triggers are happening, can we bring more love? Can we bring more truth there? Can we bring more awareness? How can we support that? That's the name of the game. Okay. Yes, always unlearning the indoctrinations and relearning the real truth. That's the name of the game. Dark night of the soul. Absolutely. And if we've all been through it, then that's what I mean by that is whatever feels uncomfortable right now, you know how to work through it. If you need more tools, then let me know. But yes, it's totally uncomfortable. I can't imagine what the generations and for hundreds and thousands of years of the suppression feels like. So if they're feeling that, I'm sure we can hold the line. Whatever's triggering within us, that's where we get to love even deeper. That's where we get to bring awareness. That's where we get to bring truth. Right? And I'm doing my best to learn new things every single day and bring more awareness to it. So also, if there's something that I say, because I might get something wrong, I totally might. I don't know. I'm hearing all, like the one that I heard today was like, now I guess saying the oneness is, so correct me, right? So being like saying oneness, that we're all about oneness, dishonors the cultures, the multiple different cultures, right? So I'm about unity, but then still honoring the different cultures. So I might totally say something that, so if I do, please feel free to DM me or send, or, something like that. Just be like, hey, you might want to bring some awareness to this, right? Because we're all in this unlearning and then relearning process. Also the real meaning behind Adam and Eve. They weren't white either. Not based on history. They weren't white either. And yes, they were a metaphor for the masculine and the feminine. Were they real people? Probably. They were probably totally there. Absolutely. I mean, who knows? That's a really wonderful book that has some stories in it that maybe got shifted, and not the full truth either. And not the full truth in there. We got to be willing to look at all of it. All of it. And that feels a little bit weird. I'm just gonna be honest, that feels a little bit weird that it's like, oh, wow, some things haven't been the full truth, right? And maybe like how and why. And I know, like, even asking why, like, that perpetuates the loop of the conversation to ask why all the time. But I'm just like I can't help it. It's like, what was the purpose for shifting the truth in history? I don't understand. What was the purpose of keeping stories out of certain important books? What was the purpose? I know we can say control, we can say manipulation, all that stuff, but like, for what purpose? And I don't even know if we need to do that. We just need to figure out what the truth is. We've been giving an amazing wake-up call right now, where if we have been sleeping on some stuff for a long, long time, we've been given an amazing wake-up call right now to then bring truth and awareness. Yes. It is a unity consciousness. So that's where we're almost needing to bring maybe more awareness to, right? Outside of duality, like our souls, when we pass on physically and we go back to wherever you think that is, I believe that is the same place, right? I believe our souls all go to the same place. And that is honoring a unity consciousness. And yet, just right, because I'm always going to be, hey, when I learn new things, it's like, let's bring shifting to the languaging. And so I'm going to try this one on, because it's like honoring unity consciousness of, yes, where our souls go, that goes to the same place. We're here on duality, inside of duality. And as much as we want to bring unity consciousness here, it's like, how can we have, it's like, instead of an or mentality, how can we have an and mentality? And I don't know how this is going to look yet. Okay. So forgive, just hold space with me for a second. How can we have a unity consciousness and an honoring of culture? Is that possible? How can we have an and versus an or? How can we honor culture, honor each individual culture, ancestral culture, and have a unity consciousness? How can that, is that possible to have that sort of and? That's what I'm playing with. I don't know. Right? I don't know. And I don't know if that's wanted. I don't know if that's, I don't know. Just doing my best to figure it out also. Right? Because we're in this amazing opportunity that as we unlearn, we're going to find new solutions. As long as we all hold at least the highest value of love and honor and respect being the intention, I believe we will find what works for everybody collectively in a new way. Because we haven't been doing it right. And we've been sleeping on it. We've been sleeping on each other. We might have been sleeping on ourselves. So this is like a giant wake-up call for all of us to shift everything. And I think that's really beautiful. It's a destructive process in order to recreate something. And that's a natural law of, that is a true law of the universe. You must deconstruct something in order to create something new. And so the way that it has been, if it needs to deconstruct, and that looks chaotic, the same way that creative energy looks chaotic. So we need to be able to deconstruct and hold the line with that deconstruction, and then be like, cool, what are we going to form and mold that and alchemize that into that works? And I'm open to having like that conversation of what that looks like, not knowing all the answers, but just being like, okay, I'm going to go and find out the true history so that then I can say, hang on, this is authentic. This is authentic. We want to remember to start from authenticity. Any relationship foundation, communication, open communication, and authenticity and transparency. That's any relationship. So if we're going to do that on the micro, and that's how we want to be able to do that intimately, then how are we going to expand that culturally? How can that look? And if we're asking ourselves these questions, right? Not fully, like just knowing that we don't have all the answers, but if we're asking the question, then the answers will begin presenting themselves. Maybe you might meet somebody and they might share a little nugget of wisdom, and that will give you another piece of awareness. As long as we're showing up in Soul Circle and having these conversations and triggering the mind to be thinking bigger and broader. Catherine, girl, and you're doing some amazing work with bringing that awareness between families. To me, it's about honoring the human and the spirit. Woo! I like that. Give some hearts for that. Okay. I like that. Not being afraid to take parts of others' cultures and include them in yours. Yes. And giving honor and respect to where the culture came from, because that's been part of the whitewashing. I've not been doing cards. Okay. That's been part of the whitewashing, is like, there's been so much, from what I've been researching, so much influence of that moved us forward, that came from ancient wisdom. And then the people who said it was suppressed, right? Just watch the stories that I posted even today. I think a lot of you probably have already seen those. Give some hearts if you guys already saw my stories on that, right? But just go look the hashtag whitewashing history. So I'm just looking for more truth on, like, oh, hey, I didn't know that. Well, that's not cool. Why didn't we give credit to that person? Why didn't we honor that person? What was the purpose for that? And cool, can we not do that anymore? Wow, they look identical. Lots of green. Lots of green. Communication, yes, hearts. Communication, authenticity, and transparency. Is that not what we say that we want in romantic relationships? What are the top 3 things? I want to hear you guys all say. What are the top 3 things that you say that you want to have in romantic relationships? Let's start there. And we are talking about this now instead of COVID, because I'm still trying to figure out the truth of COVID. There's some like, well, I hear this and then I hear this, and that makes my Libra like, weigh out those 2 options. Well, it's more than 2 options, right? Yes. Hi, Poppy. Guys, my dad's on Instagram. Holding space when being vulnerable. Okay, that's what you say you want in intimate relationships. Great. Do we do that with ourselves? And do that with other people? Because if we can write a list, this would be super awesome. If all of you guys tonight creating separation, literally. Yeah. And that's not the only narrative that's going to be coming up again. Again, remember, we haven't gotten to aliens yet, right? So yes, there is a part of this that is all these different narratives that are doing their best to keep people in fear. Because when you're not in fear, when you are in fear, then you're not in love. And if you're in fear, then you're not thinking rationally, and you're not centered, you're not aligned. And that's why I keep saying, I'm like, okay, like, let's honor the truth. Let's look at history. Let's honor how everybody is experiencing things, and looking at like these powerful shifts, and doing our best not to be in fear, not to be like, because it's like, okay, there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of frustration right now. Absolutely. So I'm not saying emotionally bypass that. And when let's just say this, from like psychologically, emotionally, when we are in fear, we're not thinking rationally. Can we all give some hearts and agree on that one? Does that resonate with you guys? If we are in fear and anger and anything else, then we're not thinking rationally. We're reacting. So we're not in love. We're not in a peaceful place. We're not choosing then powerfully. It's more in this, right? It's an agitated state. So the more that we do that, yes. Okay, hearts, cool. Just checking. The more that we can, right? If you're experiencing an emotion, absolutely honor it, but then bring yourself back to center so that then you can see things clearly. Because yes, I believe there is a certain agenda to keep us in fear. Call it conspiracy, I don't care. But there is an agenda to keep us in fear, to keep us isolated, to keep it right, all of those things. So it's this, right? My Libra is like, wow, there's this amazing change that's coming out of these like things that are happening. And there's also this agenda to keep us in fear. And you can either agree or not agree. And frankly, right? A lot of you are agreeing because, right, we're all the tribe that does. And some people may not agree. And that's okay. But when we can look at from a bird's eye view and see the multiple different perspectives, right? If we are only limited to one perspective, then we are limiting ourselves. And that some people are doing, and that's okay. That's where they're at. No judgment, no shame. No judgment, no shame. And that's why I say my Libra is like, there's some amazing aspects coming out of this. That's amazing. And so that I support every day. That's like, not literally, but metaphorically, burn the book of history that doesn't have the truth in it so that we can rewrite it in a really more powerful way. Because we're given this amazing opportunity. We should have been doing it forever ago. Absolutely. And why? I don't know. But we're doing it now. So the more that we can make a stand for doing that now and being a support to the change that's happening on a very, very big level. I'm not just talking about what's happening in racism. I'm not just talking about what's happening with COVID. I'm not like, this is collectively, this is a universal, global thing. This is global change on multiple levels. And we got to stay centered and not lose our cool, because there is a part of it that has an agenda to keep us in fear, to keep us agitated. Oh, am I about to say it? I'm about to say it. If you want to go look up in history, just the agenda part, there are some things in history that were done in Germany that are looking very similar to now. I just said it. So if we can remember that, stay in your alignment. Stay in your alignment, because it's happened in our history. And that's not conspiracy. That's history. And unless somebody's going to be like, hey, you want to rewrite that history, or there was something that didn't happen in that history, please DM me. Let me know. Okay? All right. Season of the heart. Shoot, 1 minute. Rose petals. There's roses and there's thorns. This is a perfect example. I know it says rose petals, okay? But you're going to get the sweet, and then there's going to be a few thorns. What did we just talk about? But season of heart and change. Okay, so I've got 1 minute. I know that that's, and the card fell and I don't know what it says. Okay, I love you guys. I love that you guys are all open for this conversation. Go do history research. If you send me, or like if you find something, send it to me, because I'd love to be able to post it, including you guys post it as well. So just doing my best to also figure it out. And I love that you guys are doing this, that we're all doing this together. Okay, YouTube included. I love you guys. I'll see you next week. Bye, babes. Bye, YouTube.